This video is going to focus on chapter 1 and a couple different sections here, variables and expressions, and then real numbers and the number line. First, what I'm going to have you do is look through your notebook at all these vocabulary words, and what I'm going to do is just briefly talk about each of them. A variable is a letter that represents a number. An algebraic expression is a mathematical phrase that includes one or more variables. A numerical expression uses only numbers, and notice how it says no variables. A set is going to be a well-defined collection of numbers, and each object in the set is called an element of the set. A subset is going to be a set that consists of elements with the given set. So what I'm going to do is talk about some sets of numbers here, and these sets of numbers you need to know. So I'm going to highlight these as we go. This says natural numbers. Natural numbers is the set of all numbers that are positive whole and they do not include 0. So natural numbers start at 1. Whole numbers, the next set of numbers, all whole numbers are all positive whole numbers including 0, which means that the set of natural numbers is inside the set of whole numbers because whole numbers include natural numbers, but the difference between whole, so what number would be whole and not natural? 0. Every other number would be whole that's positive, and above 0 would be considered natural and whole. Okay, here's another set. Integers. The set of integers include all positive and negative whole numbers. So no funky decimals, no fractions, so it's all the positive and negatives. There are some integers that are also whole, and there are some integers that are also natural. An integer that would be both whole and natural would be the number 1. A number that would be an integer and whole would be 0. Strictly integers that are not whole and not natural would be just the negatives. And I'm going to draw a picture to talk about this in a minute as well. Now, rational numbers. Rational numbers, there's a key word in there, means ratio. And that means you can write any number that is a ratio, or let's say the word fraction. Any fractional number is also a rational number. Now, within rational numbers, there are also integers and whole and natural, so they kind of funnel down. And rational numbers, think of like the number 1. How could you represent the number 1 as a fraction? Well, 1 over 1. That's a ratio, that's a fraction. The number 5, 5 over 1. So those even ratios that can be simplified are also considered rational. Okay, now, the next set. An irrational number is a number that cannot be written as a fraction. So think of really weird numbers that cannot be written as a fraction. Weird numbers like pi, 3.14159, blah, 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 blah. You know, or the square root of 2. It's a decimal that will not end and does not repeat. So I'm going to actually have you write this down. The decimal does not end or repeat. For rationals, the decimal can either stop or repeat. One or the other. So if you are not sure between which one, you can tell by the decimals themselves. The last one here, rational numbers and irrational numbers are all in this set called real numbers. And then there's another group of numbers that are not real numbers, and they are called imaginary. Isn't that so weird that they are numbers even though they are imaginary? And any imaginary number would be a number like this, the square root of a negative number. So I'm going to put the number sign here because you can put any number you want in there, but that would be imaginary. Now, this is good vocabulary for you to memorize because you're going to be listing out what the number is in terms of the set that it belongs. And so I want to give you a picture that I think will really help you. So maybe off on the side of your paper, you could copy this down, or if you want to grab, a separate sheet of paper, or even on the back side of the cover of your notebook, I think this would be really helpful. So this is going to be my Venn diagram, and then we'll be done with this video. I guess maybe not even a Venn. Okay, I'm going to start like this. Real numbers. In the set of real numbers, I'm going to make this box, real numbers. There are two different groups. There's the group called rational, and there's the group called irrational. These decimals stop or repeat. These decimals do not stop, and they do not repeat. Now, within rational numbers, you can also classify in these numbers other numbers as well. Here's another set within rationals, and it is called integers. And that's because the decimal represents a fraction that could be simplified to a whole number. Now, integers are negatives, 0, the number 0, and positive numbers. Now, within integers, there is another set of numbers, and it is called whole. The set of whole numbers start at 0 and go up, and they are only positive wholes, no negatives. Now the set of the last group of numbers is called natural, is only the positive whole numbers. I think this would be a really easy way to remember it, so it kind of connects the vocab that we did here with this list. Now, completely separate are imaginary numbers. And that would be the square root of any negative number. The square root of -1 is the imaginary unit called I. That's it for this video. That's your vocab. And now what I want you to do is check out these numbers, and what we're going to do is write some phrases next. And then we are going to, in the next video, start classifying. Okay, so stay tuned.